Hi, everyone. How are you? How's your week's going?
Good Monday, everyone. Assuming we post this on the right day.
Yeah, we haven't really decided what day we're posting this on. We still haven't even posted an episode yet.
But we're still going on, moving forward. Let's just
Yep, we're just
close your eyes and go.
Yeah, we're just pretending at this point, but you know what? We'll make it through. You gotta fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Speaking of fake it till you make it.
Artist life.
Yep. That's a thing.
A lot of it comes with believing you can be something before you're something,
Yeah, totally.
and acknowledging that you are that just by trying.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a long-term and a short-term kind of like almost like mid-painting midlife crisis that you have in any artist's journey.
Yeah.
That sucks.
So halfway through painting is when you kind of take a step back and look and you think, hey, does this look like what I thought it was going to look like? And sometimes it's yes and you're happy and you move forward. Sometimes it's no, but you're okay with it and you move forward. And sometimes it's no and you're frustrated and you don't know what you did wrong and you're kind of just tired. Sometimes, and you just scrap it.
Yeah.
I think that middle phase is kind of it's always a good idea to take breaks, step back and look, because you lose the forest for the trees a lot.
Yeah, I feel like self-awareness is probably one of the biggest ones for me that I try and capture or try and understand at least or get a feel for.
Sure.
Because I do believe that all mid creative walls, all creative walls that you're like trying to break down can be broken through. And I think that if you've been able to break through those walls at one point, you can tap into that, and you can figure out how to tap into that for your own personal use, I guess, to break through it again on command and on control. Yeah. I'm sure it's not easy, or it's definitely not easy to get to that point, but like, I think it's good to be self-aware and understand, like, I mean, even in something as small as like, what did I eat today? Why am I feeling this way? Is it an energy thing? Is it a motivation thing? Is it a creative burnout?
Right. I think what you said about control is the key sort of factor, because when you go in and start, you're mentally lining up all the factors of, you know, what you're trying to paint, what your goal is, what you're setting out to do, and then halfway through that, all those things can kind of get pushed to the back as you're focused on, like, gotta get this arm to look right. And so just you need to be able to reassess, you know, where's my compass pointing right now? Where are we headed? So I used to try to knock out paintings in like a single sit down session, just out of pure impatience. I was like, oh, I got to post this, blah, blah, blah. I definitely now will chew on a single image for like 3 to 5 days, if it takes me that long, and I'm totally okay with it now. It's more, because it really is crazy how a day will go by and you'll look at it with new eyes, and you suddenly see all the areas that need work, and you know what to do with them suddenly.
Yeah, we were doing the live streams for a little bit, and we would stream for like 2 hours.
Right.
And I think that sometimes we'd come out with something that we liked. But I think I don't think that was like a comfortable painting environment for me.
Yeah, no, it definitely it had a stressful element to it. Not to say it wasn't a good challenge. I do think that quick problem solving helped.
Yeah, and it forces you to just like put stuff on the canvas and go. But at the same time, sometimes you just need time.
Yeah, exactly. It highlights a lot of like the holes of thinking too quickly, I guess. And that is always a balance too. You see people like, oh, I'm overthinking this painting, and you know, people over render, especially younger artists. They're like, if they're learning how to render and paint and, you know, give shadow and depth, to an image, they overdo it. So sometimes that quick thinking approach of just, I'm going to use simple shapes for this, use simple mark making, simplify everything can be helpful, but yeah, I don't think that was entirely how we were approaching it either. So
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember you and I used to just like sit down and draw together.
right, for like 5 hours.
At least. Yeah.
That was nice. That was relaxed.
Yeah, and I prefer, and I think that you shouldn't be in a pressure.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the last week's conversation about attitude. Like,
Yeah.
being relaxed is a good place to be if you're trying to create something, for sure.
Yeah. And I guess it is kind of tricky. I don't know. There's no wrong answer on how you want to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it definitely takes a lot more experience to be able to just say, "Hey, I'm going to just make a painting in an hour or 2 hours."
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure it's doable, and I'm sure that it's definitely possible to make something good. I made paintings that I was proud of during those 2 hours during the streams and such, but
yeah. I think the fact that we both like had ones that we liked and didn't like shows that we didn't fully understand what was making the good ones like efficient, like what the factors of efficiency really were in terms of like our style of painting and drawing as well.
yeah.
Because some of my favorite like paintings are like these really simplified shape-based sort of graphic renders where they don't blend the brush strokes. They just put down a mark and then another mark of a different value. If it's like, if you're changing the form of the whatever you're drawing, like a head or whatever, and it's very big blocky shapes, but they're where they're supposed to be. Like the person painting knows what they're doing, and they know the very basic part of that image that needs to be there for it to look good and read well without being polished.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get, and what you just said, the polish, that is really important.
Yeah.
There's I don't know, I don't think I mentioned this in the podcast.
No. You mentioned it to me, I think.
Okay, gotcha. In game development, 90% of the game that you make takes 10% of the time.
Right.
And then the last 10% of the game takes 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And
it's so true for art, definitely.
Okay. I was going to ask if you felt that way.
Yeah, it definitely probably is a case-by-case basis, but I'm sure most people would tell you, like, they finish the painting and then they spend maybe half the time it took to get there just to make sure everything's in the right place and to polish up. And for some people, that's the fun part. I love it because that's when things really start to pop and, like, it takes it the extra mile. But that's why for freelance, I know how long it takes me to do something. I don't know how long it's going to take me to polish it, make it the way they want it, really make it sellable. So that's why I pad a lot of my time frames and stuff like that, because that polish is, it's just kind of, there's no floor underneath it. You don't know how long that's going to go.
Do you, what are some of the, do you have a few things that you look for while you're drawing and you hit a wall of sorts? Or maybe okay, maybe it's from both ends. What are some things that you do when you hit a wall to break through it? And then what are some things that you also notice while you're in the zone that you're keeping, that you're aware of, that helps you keep moving forward?
Interesting. So the weird thing about being in the zone is, like, I'm constantly having, like, an inner dialogue with myself, like, but it's almost not even full sentences. It's almost like just straight thoughts of, like,
me draw good.
Pretty much, like, like I was drawing a gargoyle the other day, and I was when I finished, I kind of thought back. I tried to be aware of where my head was, like, in the middle of that, and all I can say is, like, maybe I'm shaping the shadows for his, like, neck and his, like, his face area, and out of my peripheral, I can see that the arm I was working on before. It might help if I shade it this way, and so I jump over there and try to shade it up a little bit, and the whole neck and face isn't really done. And then maybe I'll jump to a wing and then jump back to the face when I see that in my peripheral. It's a lot of like, ooh, arm could be, but maybe if wing goes, but if I do neck like this, and it's a lot of like, a lot of trying, testing, and that's when it's a lot of fun because it's a lot of like jumping around the page, live editing, and that's why there are certain painting styles that lend themselves more to like changing things on the fly, which I'm very. That's just how I think when I paint. Some people are straight up planners. Like they need to know where everything is gonna go before they start putting down colors or anything or something like that. And that's totally fine too. That's just a different way of approaching it. I saw an Instagram comment like that. Like an artist on Instagram, Percy Chen, he posts a lot of his process, and you can see that he's just like, it's completely freeform. He starts with a shape and an idea, builds in other shapes and colors, starts in black and white. He'll flip it back, enlarge, shrink. I don't know, just move stuff around. It's a lot of fun to watch, and kind of gave me a lot of peace of mind for being like, okay, so my approach isn't wrong. You know, it's just how I do it. And then one of the comments, of course, was saying like, it's so cool. It's like you can sketch, but bring something to finish. I always have to know where every value is going to be before I approach it. And the person wasn't saying either of them was wrong. They were just like, it's cool to compare those.
So there is another thing in game development. Well, this is kind of aside from what you were saying, because I really do like what you were saying, actually, because I guess I think I'm a big planner. Mm-hmm. Like I like to plan out a lot of things, but I'm also a big fan of like prototyping things to see how it sounds.
Sure.
And then I'll prototype for a while and like see what I can make of something, and then I can usually in like just a prototyping stage of sorts. If I can make the smallest part of something I'm creating enjoyable and fun. Mm-hmm. And if I can see that picture past that point, I think I'm.
It carries you through.
Yeah, it carries me through. I think I'm trying to like pinpoint, because I've never really thought about it before, but because I'm a big planner, but I'm also I'm really big on actually getting in there and doing it.
Sure. So sometimes you can't plan.
And I'm so aware of that too.
And you're fine with it.
Yeah. So I'm okay with planning everything out, but I'm also okay with throwing away all my ideas.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah, I think that's important to not get like stuck on a single idea, especially early on.
Yeah, I think that's a very like, it's not a bad thing. Everybody goes through it, but it's definitely like a very amateur, rookie thing to do, to like be attached to your ideas.
And for me, it was like I would be attached to like the first version of a sketch I did, because my skills weren't to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can recreate that. And I was like, this looks good for now, and I don't want to mess it up. As you get older or more experienced, you're like, okay, scratch that. I can do a different version of it, or do more versions of it. And, you know, it's not that big a deal. But
yep, I think generally my rule of thumb is time. I would say is like, the more time you add to or put towards a piece of art, the better it's going to be generally.
Right, and that kind of leads to the last point of like, how do you know when you're done? And that sort of takes a certain kind of awareness, is just as much as in the middle and at the beginning, because it's very easy to go overboard and to keep picking at stuff. And in theory, a painting can go on forever as you try to improve it. And I think there always is a way to make something a little bit better.
I would say, so that's a very common mindset, I think. I remember I had a friend that I would animate with, or not animate, but we would make animations together. He would do the art and I would do the audio.
Yeah.
And he would always get to the point where like he would get so much better through the process of the animation. Just like a single one where he's like, this isn't good anymore. And it's like he didn't want to put it out anymore as a result.
Gotcha.
And I think that I totally understand why you would think that way, but I don't know. That's maybe not really a know when you're done kind of thing, but maybe more of a
Be okay, or like
be okay. Yeah, be okay with what
you finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also part of it too. Like, you want to keep tweaking it because you don't want to finish it and then not be glad you made it, because that can be a huge bummer.
Right.
But it does take a certain sort of, I think that it goes back to like the same way you have a goal in mind when you start, and when in the middle you refresh that goal, and at the end you should ask yourself what that goal is again, and if you met it, you don't have to keep tweaking it so that I don't know, that eyelid shape is a perfect like oval.
What is your, so in regards to that, because I feel like I look at general skill in any craft to be an accumulation of different skills that come together.
Sure.
Or like an accumulation of how to solve small problems. And in the world of any creative thing, that is an endless rabbit hole, really.
Yeah.
With a painting, I could say, you just said eyelids. Okay, what about iris?
Right.
What about the iris of an eye, or the pupil, or what about the ears? What about, and it's not even, we're just talking character design right now.
Yeah. So I think a good way to simplify that is just to frame it under readability. So this would mean, like, at first glance, looking at your image, is everything readable? You know, the shapes, the body parts of whatever you put in. Let's say, go back to the gargoyle. Can you tell, when you look at it, what pose he's making? Is the silhouette strong? Can you tell, generally what he is? I mean, he's a monster, but can you tell where his hands are? Does your eye know how to flow around the page? Does it get caught up in busy areas? Does it know what it's looking at when it's looking at it? Art can definitely have elements where, like, areas are supposed to be busy, or maybe you're not supposed to know that it's a hand, but that's for more abstract sort of elements. If you're going in for an illustration or a character design, like, things should be clear. You should know that at first read, at first glance, what you set out to accomplish, like an angry looking old lady or something, is what people see when they look at it. And it shouldn't take them that long to understand that. And I think if you can meet that goal, then you're probably done. Everything beyond that is indulgent polishing.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely just like a self-awareness of, I think getting experience finishing a painting and just being done with it forever is also really important.
Yeah.
Sometimes just saying I'm done.
Yeah.
And realizing that you've been working on this way too long.
Right.
Especially when you're a young artist is really, really important.
Yeah, because that's a willpower sort of thing you have to build for yourself as well.
Not only that, but it's also like, it also gives you the, people really undervalue what it means to finish something. Because when you finish something, to me, you finish a painting, you finish a game, you finish a music piece, you really can tweak it forever. But let's say that you spend, 100 hours on an art piece, like, it's probably going to be pretty good. You're probably not changing much at that point.
Right.
Or maybe you are. It depends on where you're at in your and what you're trying to accomplish with your painting. But I think that I feel like at that point, if you've never finished a painting and you've put 100 hours into it, you should probably you just put it out there and get that experience of, like, okay, I've put it out there. And then the next time you make a painting, you're probably going to be like, oh, was it really that much better from the 50th hour to the 100th hour?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of hard to really see that.
Yeah. It's like, using the word see, it is building the eye for it sort of thing. Like sometimes I finish things and they feel done. I don't even question it. I'm like, yeah, this has all the right parts. And then sometimes I'm like, it's not quite there. Some things aren't hitting the way I want, but it's almost there, and that's fine. You know, the goal of this is personal, blah blah blah.
And there's nothing wrong with not releasing something either, like putting it out in the public. I think that
I think it's important.
it is. Yeah, I mean if you have higher standards than the thing that you created, and you know that you can do better, I think that's fair to like not put it out.
And
It's probably worse actually if you. Because
right.
you ran into that recently, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Social media, you can get caught up in like pretty much everything I was making, I was posting, and I was like, when's the last time I did something for me, just to try it and to experiment with something and be okay if it didn't work. So that kind of shifted my focus to like these more long-term drawings to kind of experiment and learn. And most of them I don't post, and that's fine. I don't even think about it. I'm just like, okay, cool. That was my exercise for the day, and just treat it like exercise, basically. The more you do that, the more you sort of build your own standard for yourself, not like based on the likes that come in. So your standard becomes sort of your style more so.
Yeah.
And you're in more control of that. And I just think it's a healthier way to go about things.
Yeah. Plus, you probably get more likes in the end, so that's what really matters in the end.
Dab. Air horn noise.
Air horn noise, dab. We have to say dab out loud because this is a...
I didn't say it, my body said it.
That's right.
It emerged from
it
my
just
dad.
did it.
Yep.
So, what is our prompt?
Oh, yeah. Our prompt for this week is Poke Fusions. Which is one that I love.
Yeah.
I think it'll be one we sprinkle in every once in a while just because there's so many options.
Yeah, it got kind of popular online for a little bit, but we did it first. We
did.
We actually, yeah.
It tends to, Poke Fusions, the website, has been around for a good while, and it definitely, like, it was popular for a bit, and then, you know, it resurged.
Yeah.
Like, recently, like, on Twitter. But, yeah, we definitely... We may have sparked the wave, even though we didn't release any of that.
Maybe. I mean, everyone's going to be like, you guys are pretentious as hell.
I'm John Pokemon.
And I'm Billy Fusion.
Together we are. But yeah, the whole idea of Poke Fusions is just really fun. I got caught up on the Poke Fusion generator, just kind of looking at the ideas, because I love monster and creature design. Pokemon's one of the main reasons I draw at all.
Yeah, Incineroar, incredible design.
We'll save that for another day. But yeah, for this prompt,
he doesn't have a great design. I'm just.
He's a man cat.
He's a man cat.
For this prompt,
wrestler.
You don't have to use the generator. You can choose to random Pokemon and fuse them of your own imagination.
Yeah, we have the link in the description if you guys want to reference it.
Right. But really, if you just take 2 Pokemon and fuse them, that's all you got to do.
Yeah, and if you want to make less decisions and just want to dive in, then check out the link, click fuse or randomize or whatever, and then go with whatever one inspires you.
Inspires you.
Yes.
The most.
Not scares you.
I didn't say that.
So thank you, everybody, for coming here to listen.
Listening to episode 3 of the SketchyCast.
Yeah.
I'm Carlos.
Yeah, I guess we're rolling with that now. I'm cool with it. It sounds good. I'm Ryan, and check out our Discord, join the community, and not subscribe. I mean, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but I was going to say, check out SketchyMonstersArt.com, and check out our prompt that we put up bi-weekly.
And yeah, hang out with us in our Discord. A lot of cool people there.
Yeah.
And yeah, see you next week.
Goodbye forever. Nationwide is on your side.
Raptors! Raptors! No! No! Ooh.
Probably clipping a little bit. Ooh, ah, ooh.